So 9 years ago, Dawn, you were running, and you were running on the side of the road, and you were hit by a truck.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how that happened.
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to just say briefly that because how I got to running, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Because I didn't start running until I was 27. Mm-hmm. So running for me was a major release, I guess. I was a smoker. I had disordered eating.
So you were running and smoking at the same time?
No, actually, I was a 2.5 pack a day smoker. And I had unhealthy eating habits, and so one day the doctor said to me, you know, you got to start doing something, or you're going to have phlebitis, or I don't know however he said it, but so I decided I put the cigarettes down at 27, and I started running, and I picked out a block. And I just ran, walked, and then I tried to run a little bit longer than I walked, and then gradually when I could run the whole thing, I would just increase it. And then I started running, and I couldn't believe how good it made me feel. Empowering though, not just physically, it was empowering. And I would run around the block, and then I never ran a race though. I would just be running, and then I had a neighbor who said, Dawn, why don't you try running a race? And I'm like, I'm not one of those kind of runners. I'm not of that caliber. But he talked me into it. I ran a race, and I won. and
won as in first place?
I won overall, this big trophy.
Oh, okay.
And so that kind of motivated me.
Sure.
And then I just got into racing, and the whole camaraderie and the whole running, and it became my life. Okay, so now when I was running over the bridge, which I did every day, we have Gateway National Park, which is by Sandy Hook. And I'm running over the bridge to run by the ocean because I live a half mile away from it. And there was this truck exiting the park. Now they have their own single lane, and they're not supposed to stop, but there was a FedEx truck in front of him, and he decided to stop. And he waved me past. Because there's this was the old bridge. There's a new bridge there now. But so I crossed over, but while I'm crossing over, the car behind him is impatient. He doesn't want to wait. So he goes over the curb into the big safety zone where I was, and he's looking behind him and doesn't see me. And so I see him coming, and there's nothing I can do. I'm either jumping over the bridge into the water, or
which isn't really
right.
an option at the time, or you probably just couldn't even think fast
No,
enough.
I did put my hands out like I thought I could
stop him,
superhuman.
Or at least give him notice, like, hey, I'm here.
But luckily he was going only like 25 miles an hour, so otherwise I would.
But he still threw you into the air.
My knees took the bumper, and somehow I got thrown over his truck 15 feet in the air, and I wound up in a fetal position on the bridge. And this is 3 in the afternoon. Again, I'm running against traffic, doing everything right, and there was.
And what most runners, I think, don't know, and I'm not a big runner. I run occasionally. I always assumed you run with the traffic the way you would cycle or.
No, cycle you have to run. You have to cycle with traffic. But I mean, I've taught Women's Safety 101, and you absolutely have to run against traffic.
Because you want to know.
Yes, you should
what you're against.
You should be on the shoulder so you can see what's coming. You can't trust the car behind you.
Right, especially now too with all the texting, and I get nervous about that.
Yes, absolutely. And at night you should wear clothing that reflects. I remember putting my hands out, and then the next thing I'm laying in a fetal position on the bridge.
Sure.
Traffic is backed up.
And the police and paramedics come over and they ask you.
Yes, I remember the only thing I remember is
you were obviously awake.
The emergency service. I guess one of them is standing over me, asking me, "What hospital do you want to go to?" And I'm like, the closest. I mean, that was like bizarre.
That's a good answer.
Totally bizarre.
Good answer.
I consider the accident a gift. I really do. I call it the tragedy that is my gift because it changed who I am. And the reason why I say that is because before my accident, I was a very needy person, not a lot of gratitude, probably a little bit of a nag. And I was in a dysfunctional relationship, and things just weren't going right. And I have to tell you, I remember going outside and screaming on the top of my lungs, I've had it. Whatever it takes, I'm ready for change. Just whatever it takes. And when I tell
something, you're pleading with the higher power.
I'm pleading with the higher power. I don't, universe
has got to stop.
Absolutely change. I couldn't take it anymore. And when I tell you, and I mean this, 3 days later, I get hit by the car. And it was like, in retrospect, it took years to realize I asked for it. I actually asked for that. And here I am. Now my daughter had just gone to college. The person I was seeing abandoned me.
And the doctors told you.
And the doctors told me I'm going to walk with a severe limp, but I'm never going to run again. Now all my friends, my whole life is running. And here I am, and I live in a house with stairs. So here I am, stuck in my little house, in a wheelchair, looking out a little window. And life is going on. And it's April, and it's beautiful. And I live by the Jersey Shore, and I can't do anything. And wherever they put me is where I was for the day until the VNA, the nurse, came in and took care of me. I really had to learn who I was. I mean, I really had to look at myself and learn who I was and what I was made of. And I realized, I mean, the courage, the determination.